Imagine sitting in a federal courtroom, bracing for the usual tangle of legal jargon, when the prosecutor casually drops a name that once lit up every stage in America: Whitney Houston. A ripple of confusion runs through the gallery. Why would the voice of "I Will Always Love You" appear in a sex trafficking trial against Sean "Diddy" Combs? Seconds later, another titan, Mariah Carey, joins the list. By the time the whispers settle, it's clear this case isn't just about one mogul's alleged crimes. It's about the power circles he moved in, the icons orbiting his world, and the invisible grip fame can tighten on anyone who crosses his path. Buckle up. The bigger the star, the darker the shadow that now stretches across Diddy's empire. Capricorn Clark took the witness stand with the poise of someone who has seen the top of the charts from the inside. Once Diddy's executive assistant, Clark was there to explain why a budding singer named Cassie never quite broke free of her mentor's grip. Asked whether Cassie possessed genuine arena-filling talent, Clark didn't hesitate. "Talented, sure," she said, then drew a sharp line in the sand. "But Whitney Houston? Mariah Carey? That's very talented." In one sentence, she measured Cassie against two of pop's purest voices, and in the process, revealed Diddy's obsession with chasing, matching, and controlling greatness. The courtroom leaned in. Clark explained how a studio artist like Cassie could thrive behind glass, where engineers could polish every note, while live legends such as Whitney and Mariah conquered stadiums on raw vocal fire. Diddy, she suggested, wanted Cassie in a box, literally the recording booth, while parading her as the next global superstar he alone could mold. The comparison wasn't meant to slight Cassie. It exposed the tightrope women walked inside Bad Boy Records, forever measured against unreachable icons, while their careers depended on a single man's approval. Yet Clark's comments did more than critique vocal range. They sketched a portrait of a mogul whose ego required constant calibration against the highest bar imaginable. If Diddy could mold Cassie into a Whitney-level phenomenon, the narrative implied, his own legend would glow brighter. If she fell short, he alone decided whether her dreams lived or died. That power dynamic, Clark hinted, set the stage for threats, coercion, and a culture where even a chart-topping mixtape could be held hostage by one man's mood. But Clark was just the appetizer. Her testimony opened the door to a witness whose Hollywood resume would upend any doubt about credibility. Because before working for Diddy, Mia served another name you'd never expect to surface in this trial. When Mia stepped up to the microphone, her calm, precise voice cut through 3 weeks of legal static. Before Diddy, she revealed, she'd spent years as the personal assistant to Mike Myers, the sly shapeshifter behind Austin Powers and Shrek. The gallery did a collective double-take. What did a master of parody have to do with a racketeering case? Mia painted a quick portrait of life with Myers: meticulous call sheets, playful improv rehearsals, the quiet professionalism of a star who could slip into character without ever crossing a line. She wasn't name-dropping for flair, she was establishing a baseline. That was how a famous boss should behave. Then she pivoted, almost clinically, to the contrast. In Diddy's world, schedules dissolved into 3 a.m. summonses, freak-off after-parties, and whispered threats about what would happen if anyone talked. The point landed hard. Mia had seen Hollywood at its weirdest, yet nothing prepared her for a bad boy's inner sanctum. Her testimony didn't just boost credibility. It shattered a defense claim that accusers were nobodies chasing money. Mia's resume proved she could have thrived anywhere. Instead, she'd spent 8 years trapped in a high-gloss nightmare that only looked like music industry glamour from the outside. And just when the jury thought they'd sorted the players, Mia dropped another name, this time from the fashion world, tied to a scandal every bit as infamous as Diddy's. Mia's next career stop was with Georgina Chapman, co-founder of Marchesa, and once the queen of red carpet haute couture. In the years when every Oscar night camera seemed to catch a Marchesa gown, Mia was backstage zipping A-listers into silk and tulle. She saw stylists haggle over necklines, publicists fret about flashbulbs, and a fashion house run like Swiss clockwork. Yet looming behind those glossy galas was another headline: Chapman's marriage to Harvey Weinstein, the film titan later convicted of crimes hauntingly similar to the allegations facing Diddy. Mia told the court she left Chapman's orbit in 2009, the same year she joined Bad Boy. She thought she'd traded runway drama for the excitement of music. Instead, she stepped from one empire of whispered secrets into another. Only this time, there were no gowns to hide behind, no couture seam to stitch over fear. Chapman herself had never mistreated Mia, but the Weinstein shadow showed how power can cloak wrongdoing until someone finally speaks. Mia's story suggested a broader pattern: industries that reward silence, celebrate excess, and shrug off warning signs until they detonate in public. Her calm narration left a chill in the room. If hush culture could thrive in Hollywood and fashion, why wouldn't it flourish in the music business, especially under a mogul whose brand was built on bravado? The jury leaned in, sensing the trial was no longer about isolated bad acts, but a playbook of intimidation that crossed creative worlds. Next up, a stroll through Central Park that started like a casual meet and greet with Nas and Kellis, and ended with a death threat that would forever redefine loyalty inside the Bad Boy camp. Capricorn Clark thought she was simply getting the grand tour of her new job. A brisk walk through Central Park with the boss to discuss schedules, events, and expectations. On any other day, it would have been routine until fate served up a spontaneous celebrity sighting. In the middle of the winding footpath, Clark and Diddy crossed paths with rap heavyweight Nas and singer Kellis. Greetings were exchanged, quick smiles flashed for passers-by, and for a brief moment, it felt like a scene from a music video montage. Stars colliding under spring leaves. But the minute Nas and Kellis disappeared down the path, the atmosphere curdled. Diddy turned to Clark, gaze fixed and voice low, reminding her in chilling detail that he knew she had once worked for Suge Knight. "If you ever pull any West Coast moves on me," he muttered, "I'll have to end you right here." Clark froze, the echo of Central Park birdsong suddenly eerie against the threat hanging in the air. The message was unmistakable. Even in open daylight, with tourists snapping selfies nearby, his power was absolute, and public witnesses meant nothing if fear kept mouths shut. That single afternoon crystallized the split personality of Bad Boy's empire. Public charisma that dazzled fellow superstars, and private intimidation so blunt it felt surreal. Clark's testimony left the courtroom grappling with a bigger question. If a casual stroll could pivot to a death threat in seconds, what happened behind studio doors when no one else was watching? And as the trial rolled on, another name surfaced, one whose entire career might depend on never questioning the man at the top. Enter French Montana, the last marquee artist to ink a deal with Bad Boy during its late-era lull. Former stylist Deontay Nash explained how, in those years, the label had shrunk to a tight inner circle, less a bustling roster than a curated shrine to Diddy's influence. While rivals were snatching viral newcomers, Bad Boy's crown jewel was French, a rapper whose breakout singles kept the brand flickering on radio playlists. Nash described French as unfailingly loyal, someone who understood the unspoken rule of the house: play your part, never outshine the patriarch, and any reward could be yours. Studio sessions unfolded under Diddy's watchful eye. Guest verses were brokered like diplomatic treaties, each one reinforcing that allegiance flowed upward. French benefited, sure. Tour slots, lavish videos, a hotline to New York's elite clubs. But the arrangement was always transactional, and everyone in that orbit knew the price of dissent because they had seen what happened to Cassie when she dared push back about her mixtape. In the courtroom, the French Montana subplot served a dual purpose. It showed that even at the twilight of Bad Boy's dominance, Diddy could still attract, or perhaps absorb, relevance by proxy. It also underscored how an artist's silence could be currency. Stay loyal, keep the hits coming, and the machine keeps humming. Break ranks, and the same machine could stall a release, withhold a check, or snuff out a career entirely. Yet French's tenure was only the prelude to a bigger revelation, a star-studded mixtape packed with names far beyond Bad Boy's shrinking roster, artists who supposedly gave their time, talent, and verses, and never saw a dime. Because when Rick Ross, Wiz Khalifa, and Meek Mill got pulled into this saga, The courtroom finally glimpsed just how far Diddy's leverage could stretch and just how little anyone got paid for playing along. When stylist Deontay Nash turned the conversation to Cassie's 2013 mixtape Rockabye Baby, the jurors perked up. Suddenly, 3 more megawatt names, Rick Ross, Wiz Khalifa, and Meek Mill, were on the table. According to Nash, each rapper had donated verses, hype, and star power to Cassie's comeback project, and not a single one of them saw a paycheck. How did Diddy pull that off? Simple. He held every key: studio time, engineers, marketing muscle. Nothing moved unless he greenlit it. Nash quoted Diddy verbatim, "If she keeps that smart Amakoopti's mouth, her little mixtape won't be coming out." In other words, even chart-topping MCs were pawns in a game where leverage mattered more than talent or contracts. The jurors could almost feel the weight of Diddy's Rolodex. Favors called in, debts accrued, careers dangled like carrots. For Cassie, the mixtape was supposed to be emancipation. Instead, it became a silent warning to every artist in the room: cross the boss, and even your A-list friends can't save you. The prosecution leaned into that irony. If multimillionaire rappers could walk away empty-handed, what hope did assistants or stylists have when paychecks disappeared and threats replaced apologies? By the time Nash stepped down, Rockabye Baby sounded less like a passion project and more like evidence of a system built on intimidation, free labor, and the unspoken rule: loyalty is priceless because you may never actually get paid. With every celebrity cameo dissected, only one question remained: would star power shield Diddy from a RICO verdict, or spotlight the very arrogance that could bring his empire crashing down? Court recesses now feel like halftime in a high-stakes championship. Liquor partners have hit pause, radio spins are plummeting, and longtime friends are scrubbing photos faster than you can refresh Instagram. Brands once desperate for a Diddy cosign now issue boilerplate statements about monitoring the situation. Even French Montana, ever loyal, has gone conspicuously quiet. If influence is a currency, its value is sinking by the hour. Legal analysts whisper that the defense may shoot for a narrow win, knock out RICO, concede lesser charges, then spin the result as vindication. But the prosecution's celebrity tapestry undercuts that narrative. Each household name, intentionally or not, became a mirror reflecting Diddy's reach and his methods. Jurors aren't just weighing criminal counts, they're evaluating a culture of fear dressed up as glamour. Whatever the verdict, one truth is already clear: the era when a superstar could hush critics with lavish parties and mutual favors is fading. Social media remembers, settlements leak, hotel hall videos go viral, and younger artists are taking notes on how yesterday's untouchable icons can implode overnight. So where does it all land? If the jury convicts on racketeering, the music industry will face its most seismic accountability test since the Me Too wave hit Hollywood. If they don't, it may signal that wealth still buys extra lives, even in the age of instant outrage. Either way, the ripple will travel far beyond one courtroom. Before you go, which testimony, Whitney and Mariah's gold standard comparison, Mia's tales of 3 a.m. summonses, or Nash's unpaid all-star mixtape hit you hardest? Drop your take below, and be sure to subscribe. We're breaking down every twist the moment it happens, because the final chapter of the Bad Boy saga is still being written, and you won't want to miss the ending.